Report story. Izuku bolted up from his bed, before collapsing back onto his hands and knees. His breath was heavy, he was sweating, and couldn't have felt more tired, but he felt it. The feeling of one for all coursing through his body. He hadn't activated it, it was acting on its own. He put a hand to his head. Which user of one for all was that? The original. A few others were more clear this time as well. What is one for all trying to tell me? What about this singularity? Izuku removed his hand from his face, placing it back on the bed, still on all fours. However, Izuku gasped when he saw his sheets. Burned, torn, and ragged. He looked around his room in a panic. There were marks on the walls, the chair had been flipped over, curtains torn, and even his own arm sleeve had been ripped apart. Izuku started to panic. He couldn't let her see this. She would definitely ask questions. Izuku checked his phone. The time said 12:58 a.m. She usually arrived at 1 am. Izuku jumped from the bed, grabbing as many pieces of paper that had flown to the ground as possible before hearing a rapping noise at the balcony window. Izuku furrowed his eyebrows, closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He turned toward the girl now standing outside of his balcony door. She smiled that beautiful smile and waved vigorously at him. Izuku walked towards the door, still holding the papers, and opened it up, allowing her in. Hey, Ochako, what brings you here at this time of night? Izuku asks nervously, giving a fake laugh, rubbing the back of his head. Ochako give him a look. Izu, what do you mean? I'm always here at this time, you told me I could. She stops, taking in the mess before giving Izuku another look, this time with worry. Izuku, what is this? What happened? She asked, examining the wall and the bed. I dunno, I guess I'm a heavy sleeper. Izuku said nervously, still pretending to laugh it off. Izuku, even the heaviest of sleepers don't burn their sheets. Ochako yelled at him, holding one of the blankets. Ocha, well. Suddenly there was a loud knock on the door. Izuku and Ochako looked at each other, they hadn't expected anyone else. Izuku walked over to open the door. Wait, Izuku. Hold on. Ochako started, however the door was already open and the visitor had already started talking. What is all that ruckus you were doing? I am trying to get some beauty sleep to keep my twinkling for the morning. And then there's you. You were banging the wall and some other small. Aoyama starts, still wearing his nightcap before spotting Ochako, holding the torn sheets. He took one look around the room, and then repeatedly back at Izuku and Ochako, and smiled. Désolé. I am terribly sorry, please keep enjoying yourselves in the night of sparkling romance. Aoyama said, twirling away and closing the door behind him. Izuku shrugged, not understanding what Aoyama had meant. Ochako turned beet red. Izuku, why would you open the door? Ochako asked, putting blankets to her face. Izuku opened it assuming the person at the door had been disturbed by his sudden outburst during his sleep, however he couldn't understand why Ochako was so embarrassed. I probably disturbed him so I thought I'd apologize. He left before I could though. I said putting his hands on his hips. I guess he didn't need one. Izu you dummy. He left because he took a look at this room and thought we were, you know. Ochako trailed off, face still in the blankets. However her ears were a bright red still. Izuku processed her words before understanding what she was getting at. His face burned. Ooh, he said, once again scratching the back of his head. Promoted stories. You'll also like Captured by Love, BNHA Villain Redemption a 134K 2.8K Izuku. Midoriya has never felt more confused. Being a villain has taught him to never get attached to anyone, because they'll either end up betraying you, or you'll be. The Quirkless Lion Unseen Power. S1N. Kurayami has always lived in the shadows, pretending to be quirkless in a world that reveres power. Her secret isn't weakness, it's Mindweb, a terrifying ability. Villain Deku 10.9K 260 words. 23,820 Izuku was just 14 when he met All Might and asked if he can be a hero, but All Might crushes his dreams and left him on a rooftop. What All Might didn't. Golden, Hispanic, Latina. Femme. Reader. Ex-Izuku. Heiress to the richest company in the world. The government of Japan has good relationships with your grandfather. It was the duty of the government to save. Falling 71.1K 1.3 Kever. Since Izuku Midoriya joined UA high school and settled in, he knew that the League of Villains were after him and his quirk, one for all. However, when the time c. The life of 16.9K 486 Izuku. Midoriya wanted to be a hero his whole life and was bullied for it since he was quirkless. Izuku Midoriya was told that he would never get a quirk by his doctor. Symbol of Hope Izuku X Hair, named weapon of a true hero. This is the old version. The new rewrite can be found in Archive of Our Own, under a new name. Red Halo heroes today are corrupted by. Sorry. What is going on, Izuku? Usually you're more aware of things like this, and then your room looking like this, what's going on? Ochako asked, looking up from the blankets, sitting on the edge of the bed. Izuku sighed. It had been about a month since Ochako had met his mother. Ochako's parents were still overseas for a new contract they had going, so Izuku had to wait to meet her parents, though they did say hi to him every time they called Ochako. Ochako, recently, had gotten into the habit of floating from her window down to Izuku's balcony in order to bug him for a few hours without Mina or any of the other girls questioning her or having the night security robot find her out after hours. She never stayed long, but it was nice to see her all cute in her pajamas and get a few cuddles out of it. Izuku always felt comfort and happiness when she would gift him with her presents late at night. However, this just was not the night for that. The thought of one for all was still running through his mind. He couldn't feel the quirk coursing through him anymore, but its presence had made itself known. He needed to ask All Might, figure out what was going on first. However, he had to get Ochako off the topic of what happened tonight. I'm really not sure. I'll ask All Might about it tomorrow. He may know something I don't about our type of quirks since they're similar. Izuku felt small bead of sweat run down his forehead, praying she would accept that answer. She stared at him for a second before sighing. Just tell me what he says, I want you to be okay. I swear you and your quirk. Ochako said, giving him a worried look before shaking her head, seemingly throwing the thoughts away. Anyway, I'm here now, so everything will be okay no matter what. She said with a smile, jumping up and hugging Izuku around the neck. Izuku laughs and grabs her around the waist, swinging her in a circle. Thank you, Ocha, you're absolutely the best, you know that. Izuku said, now hugging her back. Of course, I'm the one who told you I was. Ochako said, pulling her head back a bit. Yay, you did tell me that, didn't you? Izuku chuckled. I love this girl, Izuku thought to himself. He looked her in her eyes and then down at the star-shaped necklace he had gotten for her on their first date. We haven't gone on a date since that night, huh? Izuku asked, bringing a hand to her chest, gripping the star as lightly as he could with his fingers. Sorry, I haven't really been able to take you anywhere else. School's been really busy. Ochako places both hands onto Izuku's cheeks. Hey, we're in the same class, I know how busy we are. You said it yourself on that tree branch that night, remember? It's gonna be hard dating through school, but we'd prefer to be together during it than wait until summer. Ochako smiled. Besides, studying each day in your room is fun, and we still do things. Your mom likes when we come over and we have fun in the dorms here with everyone else. Plus, we have our little late night visits. Like tonight. Ochako lightly brings her lips to Izuku's. Izuku felt the light touch of her soft lips against his own. Ochako had pulled back and was now staring back into Izuku's eyes. It's getting late, you're about to head back to your room, right? Izuku said, pulling away and sitting on the bed, checking his phone. Ochako stood there for a second, putting her hands behind her back. Izuku looked up at her. Ochako. Ochako walks forwards towards Izuku, sitting on Izuku's lap facing towards him. His face was completely red, and she was looking down at Izuku's shirt instead of his eyes. Izuku looked confused. He had gotten used to her touchy nature, even welcoming it now, but it was rare for her to get red at stuff like this these days. Hey Izu. Do you remember the first time we went to your mom's? Don't remind me. Izuku mumbled. He was still in shock that his mom had chosen not to knock. Well, would you like to continue? Izuku felt his face well up with a burning sensation. Continue. Now. Why? What? Maybe not all the way. Izuku said, trying his best not to give a panic attack. Ochako's face fell just slightly. It's okay, Izu. I understand, she said, still looking down at her hands. Izuku, face falling a bit at her disappointment, wraps his arms around her. It's not that I don't want to. I just want to be perfectly ready so I can give you the best, plus. I want to make sure my quirk doesn't do anything bad. This was all true. If anything, Izuku wanted to do it with her then and there, however, with the quirk choosing when to arrive and when not to on its own. Izuku needed to clear something up with All Might first. He felt he still had complete control over it, it was more as if it was just trying to tell him something. Something was changing. I'm sorry, Ocha. Ochako goes in for a kiss and leans the green hair boy down. Then we don't have to go all the way. I probably would have gotten too embarrassed anyway. But can we at least sleep together tonight? I like cuddling with you. Ochako said, looking down at Izuku since she was on top. Izuku hesitated. But I'm not sure if that will happen again. And if it does, I'll calm you down. It's kind of what I have to do as your girlfriend, you know. Izuku sat on that for a second before smiling. Alright, but I'm leaving early in the morning to meet All Might. Make sure you make it to class on time. Ochako's eyes lit up as she hugged Izuku. She climbed over him into the bed and pulled the sheets over her body and head. I don't see a Izuku in here yet. She called out as Izuku sat up. He chuckled to himself as he climbed into bed with her. Ochako moved in and wrapped her arms around his waist. Do you remember the first time we did this? She asked, face snuggled into his chest. After the fight with Iida. I couldn't forget, My heart was about to rip out of my chest. Izuku chuckled. That had been a few months ago now. It's amazing how far he had come, now being used to most of Ochako's advances. She still got him every now and then though. You're so bad with stuff like this. Ochako said softly. Hey, I'm a lot better now. Plus you aren't exactly great with them either. He said. No response. He looked down and saw that Ochako had fallen asleep. He smiles. And closes his eyes. He could get used to having her sleep with him at night, though Izuku ended up staying awake the entirety of the night. After a few hours, he sat up and crawled out of bed. He tucked Ochako in, who adjusted in her sleep. Izuku mentally commented how cute that was, put on his school uniform and lifted his phone to send a text. I'm on my way now, All Might. I have some really important news for you. Kenlair here. New arc starting today, guys. I decided to switch to a third-person storytelling. There is a reason for this. This is going to be a crazy arc and writing it in first person honestly wouldn't do it justice. We have a new arc, a change in atmosphere with the characters coming up and a third person hits the change stronger than a first person would. The characters are now established and have gone through changes. These are no longer the same Izuku and Ochako than the original. They made different choices and are now different version of them, and we've seen that change in this story. So new writing perspective for the Nay atmosphere. If you really want to go back to first person comment and you'll see how many want to keep the first person perspective, but I do say please give this a chance, I think it'll pay off. Until then, it's time to really get this new arc underway. Kenny Boy, where stories live, discover now.